silence after one race, and before the next, the challenge of the track is heard most clearly. Send me your best men, your best equipment. They are barely good enough, for this is the racetrack at Darlington. The cheering fans will see only a contest between one man and another. The real battle is between the man and the track. If you win, they write your name in the record book. Failures are written on the track itself. Out of these victories and failures, this great track builds history and legend. For this is the racetrack at Darlington, and its proud history is called the Southern 500. Fast, they must run against the wall. At 128 miles an hour, their fenders paint the guardrail. Thousands of miles of practice roll away in the week before the 500-mile race. $250,000 is on the line. That's what it costs to ready more than 40 racing stock cars. Reputations are at stake. Every piece of equipment from stove bolt to roll bar will be shaken, heated, worn, pounded, twisted, scorched, and battered in the search for speed and victory. Again and again, the cars are stripped down as adjustments are made. The mechanics tune first for speed. The last two Southern 500s were won by less than 10 seconds, less than a quarter of a mile an hour in average speed. Yet with speed, they need endurance. 500 miles at Darlington is more punishment than 2 years of wear and tear on the highway. Fireball Roberts, fastest qualifier in the last 3 500s, works shoulder to shoulder with his mechanic Banjo Matthews. The 130-mile-an-hour lap is a split second out of reach. Roberts wants to reach. Bobby Johns, taking no chances, uses one engine for practice, another for qualification and the race. His mechanic is a man he can depend on, his father. When the mechanic is done, it's up to the driver. That last mile an hour is in his foot. Careful. The mechanics have put a lot of sweat in that car. Don't hang it on the wall. A day's practice to gain a quarter of a second. Then it's time to qualify. As electric timers measure speed in hundredths of seconds, the track is cleared as one car at a time whips around the tricky 1 3/8 track. Starting positions at the head of the field are awarded to faster cars. 100th of a second now might mean one less car to pass on race day. Car after car flashes across the line. The fastest field in Darlington history qualifies at an average speed of 124 miles an hour. Among the qualifiers, Fireball Roberts, standing on the throttle. He stops the clock in record time. Fireball runs one lap at 130.5 miles an hour, and 4 laps at an average of 130.2 miles an hour. Both new records. In the morning, it's very peaceful in the infield. Some of the fans are still sleeping. Nice and peaceful. Just don't count on the quiet lasting much longer. The largest crowd ever gathered between Philadelphia and New Orleans waits for the start of the World Series of Stock Car Auto Racing. Then the command, "Gentlemen, start your engines." 44 cars toe the line on the main straightaway. Ready for the pace lap, Fireball Roberts, fastest qualifier, Pontiac number 22. Next to him, Junior Johnson, a tick of the watch slower in Pontiac number 3. Further back, Nelson Stacy, Ford number 29, winner of the Southern 500 a year ago. Shorty Johns, mechanic of Pontiac number 72 with his son Bobby. Marvin Patch, Ford number 21. Suddenly, like the others, alone. They're beginning the pace lap. In the starting field are Ford, Chevrolet, Pontiac, Mercury, Chrysler, Dodge, and Plymouth. Faster and more powerful cars than were ever dreamed of in the first Southern 500 a dozen years ago. In that race, average speed for 500 miles was 76 miles an hour. These cars average 50 miles an hour faster in qualification. Here at Darlington, automotive equipment has been tested and toughened into faster, safer, more dependable products for the American public. Off the high bank first and second turns, down onto the flat, leading to the backstretch. On this mile and 3/8 track, turns 1 and 2 are high banked with room to pass. Turns 3 and 4 are flat and tricky. This is a driver's racetrack. The pot of prizes is more than $90,000. First place will pay more than $20,000. To the fourth turn, gathering speed. This pace lap was free. Now, 364 laps for the money. The pace car leaves the track. Fireball Roberts, outside front row, will lead them across the starting line. He's got the green flag, and the race is on. Roberts is in the lead. Bobby Johns hanging on his bumper as they head down the backstretch. Full throttle. At the end of the backstretch, they're traveling 150 miles an hour, but slow down for the third turn. End of lap 1. Bobby Johns challenging. No, Fireball holds him off. Speed for the first lap is almost 126 miles an hour. A new record. Roberts holds first, John second, Richard Petty third, and Junior Johnson fourth. Roscoe Thompson sails 400 feet down the front stretch and kisses the wall. But with a new set of tires, his Mercury will be back in the race. Fireball Roberts and Bobby Johns have picked up a one-lap lead over slower cars. Johns wants to run in front, but Roberts holds him off, nearly losing control as they touch fenders. Roberts is setting a pace that's just too fast for most cars. Look out! That Pontiac qualified at 127 miles an hour, and Ralph Earnhardt proves that it can run almost as fast backwards. The yellow caution signal slows traffic. Earnhardt's not hurt. If that car will still run, he'll make it back to the pits and out of the race. For 60 miles, Bobby Johns hangs on Robert's fender, then makes another bid. He's passing as his dad watches. Bobby Johns grabs the lead. Joe Weatherly and Dave Pearson tangle on the first turn. Spinning wildly, they barely miss other traffic. Both cars can still race, but little Joe, who'd been running fifth, is an angry man. At the end of 100 miles, Fireball's crew call him in for the first scheduled pit stop. Bobby Johns has set a blistering pace, but Roberts has stayed with him. Roberts is slowing down now. Suddenly, Fireball slams the guardrail. Roberts had reduced speed and moved out of the way of faster cars while on the backstretch. As he drove down onto the track apron, he ran into loose sand, lost control, and slid up into the fence. The right front wheel was torn away as that 4,000-pound automobile rammed a steel barrier at better than 90 miles an hour. Banjo Matthews, mechanic for this Pontiac, takes one look at the front end and motions, "Don't bring any tools, we're not running anymore today." Roberts drove the first 100 miles at better than 2 miles a minute. His average speed a new record. It's a tough break, but over the years, this racetrack has been good to Fireball. Racing in all 13 Southern 500s, Roberts won only once, but has earned more than $102,000. With Roberts out, Bobby Johns has first place all to himself. Richard Petty sits tight in second place. Junior Johnson not far behind in third place. Bobby Johns roars down the backstretch and runs into trouble. Two cars spin. Jim Pascal in number 42 is hit, trying to avoid the tangle. And there's Bobby Johns. Johns is slammed into the infield as Darrell Derringer's car catches fire. Pascal, his car badly battered, is able to continue under his own power. Bobby Johns, the leader, can barely steer his car off the track and out of the race. The fire in Derringer's car is quickly controlled. One of the first to spin, Derringer was hit by both Pascal and Johns. Pascal is still able to race. Some rough and ready bodywork by his crew gives him enough elbow room to steer. Pascal's teammate, Richard Petty, takes the lead in Plymouth number 43. Junior Johnson is right behind him and making a bid. Junior takes over. Richard Petty drops to second as Johnson's Pontiac sets the pace. "100 miles becomes 200 as records fall in near-record heat. Temperature of the air is 96. The track surface measures 140, and there's only one sure way to get chilled." Drivers tell their crews, "It's like a steam bath in here." During 30-second pit stops, there's barely time for a drink of water. Yet speed at the end of 250 miles, the halfway mark, is 121 miles an hour, fastest in Darlington history. At 300 miles, 16 cars are out of the race. Heat and record speed have pushed wear and tear far beyond pre-race estimates, yet the battle goes on. Johnson trades the lead with 5 other cars, then takes first place again. Johnson's in trouble. Junior handles it beautifully. Then when he's got his car pointed right, puts his elbow on the window ledge and calm as a Sunday driver brings it to the pits. Johnson had a thin 5-second lead, and even before he's made it to the pits, he's dropped to third place. The yellow flag flies as Johnson parks, perhaps for the rest of the afternoon. Ray Fox, his mechanic, looks at the damage and sets to work. As the precious seconds tick away, all tires are changed and crumpled metal is burned clear. With Johnson in the pits, Richard Petty goes back into first place. He's running flat out. Johnson's on his way, a lap behind the leader, but he can still make a race of it. Johnson roars out of the pits as the leaders sweep into the first turn. Look out! A car is into the wall! It's Johnny Allen, Pontiac number 46. The driver is hanging upside down, held by his seatbelt and shoulder harness. He's out of the car. He's all right. Alan had suddenly found the track slick as ice when a car ahead of him spilled oil from a damaged engine. After he flipped, he said he kept his harness buckled, afraid that the other cars might hit him. But once he saw the flames, he moved out of there fast. The car is completely gutted, but Alan isn't even scratched. When the track is cleared and the green flag sends them back to high speed, Richard Petty holds first place, trailed by Larry Frank in Ford number 66. Lee Petty, crew chief for his son Richard, isn't worried about Frank. The scoreboard shows number 66 a full lap behind. Through a scoring error, Frank was not credited with 1 lap. Neither driver knows it, but this moment may decide the race. Larry Frank passes Richard Petty, then bounces off the guardrail, but keeps control. Larry Frank is now in the lead, although the scorers put him 4th. This error begins one of the wildest finishes in racing history. Frank is running the fastest laps ever seen in competition here, and his crew tell him to keep going. We'll argue with the officials later. Lee Petty senses a different threat. Ignoring Larry Frank, Lee gets word that Junior Johnson is running in the same lap as his son Richard. The Petty crew warn Richard that number 3, Johnson, is gaining. Lee, a great race driver and Gabriel's Racing Father of the Year, knows that Johnson caught Richard earlier in the race. Can he do it again these last few miles? Richard's tires are badly worn. Can he risk higher speed? Go, son, go! Petty is caught in the traffic, and Johnson closes in. Less than 10 miles to race. High in the first turn, Richard Petty blows a tire. Junior Johnson passes as Petty fights for control. His late burst of speed was an all-or-nothing gamble, but failed. The scorers now put Junior Johnson in first place, but Larry Frank is 5 seconds ahead and running wide open. He's faster now than when he qualified. Lee Petty walks to the pit wall and tells his son to keep going. Stopping for a new tire would take too much time. 4 laps to go. Richard's going to race it out. He's running almost 100 miles an hour. Look out! Petty slows down. He just can't handle a car on 3 wheels. Junior Johnson also eases off the throttle, thinking he's in first place. As Richard Petty rounds the 4th turn, Junior Johnson crosses the starting line and takes the white flag, meaning you are in the lead with 1 lap to go. But Larry Frank is still leading him. Frank completes the last lap, coming up to the finish line with his crew urging him on. He's across the line. Here's Junior Johnson right behind him and getting the checkered flag. Unofficially, the winner of the race. Johnson's crew goes wild. Mechanic Ray Fox can't believe it all really happened. Both Frank and Johnson continue around, using the extra lap to slow down. And on that safety lap, Larry Frank, the winner, blows a tire. Frank, hot and weary, almost blinded by air rushing through a broken vent, slows down. But only brilliant driving by others prevents a pileup. Frank, barely able to see, hobbles past his pits as the red flag ends the race. I thought sure I'd won, Frank said later, but all I could do was drive her down and park her in the infield. I was never so discouraged in my life. Johnson rides into the winner's circle. Larry Frank's mechanic and car owner protests the results to NASCAR officials. While Johnson takes the winner's rewards, Richard Petty brings in his Plymouth, still running on 3 wheels. He salvaged 5th position after running a beautiful 495-mile race. Hours later, recheck of the official scorecards gave Larry Frank, driving Ford number 66, the victory, and $20,000 in first-place money. Winning this means so much, he said. This is the big one you dream about. I never worked harder in my life. Junior didn't know it, but he's going to give back all the prizes except the kisses of the beauty queen and settle for $9,000 second-place money. His second-place finish after spinning into the wall is reason enough to be proud. The fans rushed to the pits to see the cars and the men who answered the challenge of Darlington. Larry Frank's average speed for 500 miles, including slow laps run under the caution flag, is 117.9 miles an hour, an all-time record for this track. 16 new records were set today in one of the greatest Southern 500s ever run. In the moment of silence, after one race, and before the next, the challenge of the track is heard again. Send me your best men, your best equipment. For this is the racetrack at Darlington.